Okay. Dude, I've heard so many things about this video. I've heard it's good. I heard it's bad. I know that it's 42 minutes long, so we're going to be here for 2 hours. So let's just get right into it. It was a 4-hour react. Oh, I'm definitely not making it more than an hour and 30 minutes. Absolutely. Let's see it. Unless you guys want to watch something else. You skip all the story? Yeah? Okay.
I think Genshin and Wuthering Waves have mediocre story writing. These are the two biggest open-world gacha games today, but there's something about the way their characters and plot are presented that I just can't get into. Static characters with only one trope, mountains of lore that's uninteresting or unexplained, and dialogue bloat that just keeps going in circles without any actual substance. This is a phenomenon that I thought Wuthering Waves would learn and be able to break out of, but I feel it's fallen into more or less the same trap. Why is it that even though both companies have written some good stories in their previous games, that they failed to keep up the momentum here?
Okay, to be very honest with you, 1.0 sucked. But they did learn after 1.0. So I will say, I think 1.1 with Genshin was very good. I think it was 1.3 with Shorekeeper. And Renaissance has been great. So 1.0 was rough. Like, that shit sucked. No way around it. I do think that Act 6 with the war is one of my favorite gacha quests I've ever done. But the story was ass. But yeah, let's see.
Today, I want to talk about it. Like, really talk about it. The more I looked into the topic, the more I realized that this trend of lackluster story writing may have seeped into the gacha space as a whole. Normally, I don't like discussing the big titles in the gacha market, but since this has seemingly become a trend in these open-world games, I want to make this video as a warning and critique on why I think this is happening and what people can learn from it. I know when tackling a topic as subjective as a story, I want to make it clear that the information provided in this video
I'm just ordering food real quick. Give me a second.
And you are allowed to disagree or critique it.
How you feeling, man?
My name is Pseychie, and after holding off on...
Alright, boys, I'm not gonna lie to you. We're gonna get some alcohol, too. We're gonna get some alcohol in our system. We will get some alcohol as well.
Talking about storytelling in gacha games, let's finally get into it. If you know me, the story is one of the few aspects of a gacha game that I don't review. The reason for this is twofold. The first is that, as mentioned before, storytelling is extremely subjective.
Very much.
If your response to someone else critiquing the narratives is, well, I enjoyed it, that's great.
Doesn't matter.
I'm glad you did. Don't let anyone tell you how to enjoy your favorite game.
True.
It's like eating the food and listening to the music you like. Why do you like eating hamburgers? I don't know. I just like the taste of it, I guess. You don't need a concrete reason to like or dislike the story in any medium.
I agree. I think that's very fair. I think you could just say, yeah, it's not for me. I think it's fine.
And I feel it's sort of a moot point to try and prove that someone else is enjoying something the wrong way. The second reason is more specific to gacha games. As you know, some of them have extremely well-written narratives. One problem. Gacha games also have this unbreakable curse that the story only starts to ramp up after a long way from the beginning. And as a content creator with limited time to spend per video, I don't know how far in before the story gets good, and I don't
I got some sangria. So yeah, I ordered some sangria.
know how long it'll take for me to get there. Spending that much time to invest in something that might get good is simply not an efficient use of my time. And I should just explore the aspects of the game that can be judged from a more objective
We're going to put this on 1.5.
Now, storytelling and writing, while most of it is subjective, there are absolutely objective qualities that one can observe. These are issues that I find pretty prevalent in the two biggest open-world titles out right now. Please note that I've thoroughly enjoyed playing Genshin and Wuthering Waves. I spent 2 years on Genshin and the past 6 months on WuWa.
Okay, to be honest with you, I don't think the storytelling between WuWa and Genshin is even comparable. I don't. Also, boys, thank you for the follows and thank you for the subs before. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I don't think it's comparable at all. And WuWa's longest story... What's WuWa's longest story? Isn't it like 4 hours at most? Maybe all of... I don't know. But okay. Specifically, in my opinion, the video should have been 4 minutes long. Let's see.
They both have many other good qualities that I can praise all day, but this is a critique on purely the story writing and nothing else. Also,
so story writing.
Games have a sort of war between the fan bases, just so people don't label me as a
very long. Not really,
David. Sides, I'm just gonna roast
boys.
To establish some rules, I understand that certain creative directions can be restricted by the live service model of gacha games. You can't really expect them to do any major branching storylines or altering the world to a drastic degree. Any choices that the player can make is inconsequential or minimal at best. Maybe it changes how a small portion of the world looks, but these games can only tell stories in a linear fashion. It's unreasonable to expect any player choices that actually amount to much. And that's just due to how these games are set up. There are plenty of ways to tell a good linear story, but this
Okay, am I crazy for just sidebar saying I don't think that's true? Like, I think that, like, if let's say a fucking meteor strikes tomorrow in Wuthering Waves, right? And it destroys a part of the town in Renacida. Is it really that hard to add a toggle button that's saying on or off for, like, the town being destroyed? I think it's wasted resources. I think it'd be cool. But I also don't think it's impossible to say that. I just want to throw that. It's not just for Genshin, it's not just for WuWa. It's for all these games. I do think events, video length is good. Is my views audience on TikTok audience? Yeah. Okay.
This is the first thing I want to bring up. Something else that open world games can do easily compared to other genres is environmental storytelling. This is actually done pretty well in both games, and it can be done in multiple ways. Since Teyvat and Solaris 3 are littered with regions and sights to see, random loot in the world can often lead the player into side quests and other rewards. If there's something shiny or interesting, players will naturally be drawn towards it. It's like when I explored Renacida in Wuthering Waves. Wandering the streets, I noticed there is a polymorphed bathtub creature. It's then that I saw a prompt to enter it, and your character will just sit in it while the tub lazes around. This doesn't do anything, but it's still cool and goofy to experience. Later on, while exploring the region, I saw a boat in the midst of a dark ravine. I boarded it, jumped through a waterfall, and was greeted by a breathtaking vista.
Absolutely.
The game didn't tell me to do these things. I found them out myself, which makes the experience more memorable and organic.
For sure.
Presentation is clearly the strong suit of these games. Both cutscene and environmental designs are stylized and flashy. There's a shiny coat of paint on top of whatever story is being told. I don't think many would argue that these games look bad from a visual perspective. They're often a sight to behold, and I can even recount some instances I stopped exploring just to take screenshots. Now that we've gotten the pleasantries out of the way, let's discuss writing. For this video, I will be honing down on Genshin's Natlan storyline and Wuthering Waves' Renacida storyline.
Dude, Natlan's story is
bad,
bad,
recent
bro.
Major explorable regions in the
really
respective
bad.
games. I will be bringing in
Like,
callbacks from other portions in the story, but I will be mostly narrowing down on these two specifically. Let's start from
Natlan was so overhyped by the fan base, and the lore drops in the game really made you feel like, okay, I say this all the time. Keyblade Graveyard. When I think of a war, I think of something like this. I think of a rough, raggedy ass fucking spot where there's tons of bodies or there's tons of rubble. And like, this is directly from Kingdom Hearts, like where thousands of dudes died fighting with Keyblades and shit, so they call it the Keyblade Graveyard. Like, this is war. Natlan had the opportunity to do something really cool and make things work, and make things important in Genshin, but instead, they went with selling merch, right? One of the biggest points that they really drove home in the live stream was you could buy a Saurian plushie, right? And so it really just felt like a ploy to sell as much merch as possible, as opposed to taking risk with the writing, risk with the storytelling, and truly driving home a story that was meaningful and at some points dark, the way it was in Fontaine. It was an absolute 180 from what they did previously, 1000%.
From the absolute fundamentals.
For money.
A common question that I often ask myself when it comes to engaging with story writing is, why should I care?
True.
The first piece of the puzzle begins with setting expectations. The central goal of Genshin's traveler revolves around finding his or her sibling. This is their ultimate objective when wandering around
I was
the world.
lurking earlier. I know you weren't fucking with it, but we'll see. We'll see. I know that the WuWa part people are not happy with. I know people are not happy with that. I saw you watching that, so I was like, all right, let me mute it and see what the deal is. Also, give another shout out for Saint. Still good into the WuWa part, basically. Yeah, I'm not. I will say, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the longest WuWa quest is like 3.5 hours. Maybe, right? Everyone go follow Saint. So I kind of had a feeling off there, but we'll keep it going. But it's not like, I was nervous going into 2.0, expecting it to be a bunch of fucking filler. Other than maybe one part in 2.0 that I didn't like, I thought it was fine, you know?
Sidetrack the traveler quite a bit. The interlude quests guide you back on track while giving just enough motivation to remind you what you've been fighting for all this time.
1.0 wasn't really that great, man. 1.0 was mid. 1.0 sucked. 1.0, it just wasn't good. Act 6 was lit as fuck. Again, I'll say that. One of my favorite gacha missions I've ever done. The mission was lit as hell, and I like that. But Acts 1 through 4 was just ass. But after that, like the shorekeeper and everything else.
You
were one dumb son of a bitch. Yo, Sketches, I appreciate the fuck out of you, brother. Thank you for the 3 months of subs and actual goat. I appreciate you. Thank you. But like 1.3, right? Or 1.1, I think it was great. But thank you, Sketches. I appreciate you. Thank you, boys. Thank you for the follows and subbies.
I often enjoy these quests as I felt more connected to the Traveler at a personal level, and when I felt my motivations were most aligned with the Traveler's. When Aether finally meets with an image of his sister, it gives off a sense of catharsis you just don't often feel while playing the game.
You're the only one in this world who calls me that.
Okay, but that quest means fucking nothing because you forget your memory 3 seconds after. So while that was one of the better written quests in Genshin Impact, they absolutely fucking killed it. They killed it, so it doesn't mean anything at all.
It was a bit of a strange feeling right after having completed, in my opinion, one of the more emotional interlude quests, as I felt that Natlan didn't have any direct leads that would allow the Traveler to reunite with their sibling, but rather they were just journeying there just
so I don't think we should be praising that,
To start, however, I actually quite liked the first act of the Natlan Archon quests.
First act was okay.
Machina first, an aspiring warrior hoping to participate in the upcoming tournament,
lore building
but her
was
former
boring,
allies doubt her strength and leave her without a team. This might be a wild take, but Kachina, in my opinion, is the only well-developed character in this questline.
Absolutely.
She has some degree of personality, has personal aspirations, has room for growth, and serves as a good vehicle to introduce you to the region. There's even a portion of the story later where she reminisces on callbacks to your adventures. Yes, the only character I felt some sort of emotional attachment to was a 4-star. As you roam the painted cliffsides and lovable wildlife, you meet Kanich and Mulani in preparation for a tournament to decide the best.
We never heard Kanich speak ever again. Hope this helps. I hope this helps, okay? I hope this
warrior that will lead the nation to battle the Abyss. Again, Act 1 is a good start. You have the excitement of a competition to flow into how the Nation of War does its traditions, while also introducing the Pyro Archon, Malvika. There doesn't need to be a lot of stakes since the job is to welcome the player to Natlan's distinct culture.
I know. That interlude made me hate Genshin Storytelling. Was part 2 of a quest from a year ago, and they spent a year making for a 30-minute quest line. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Genshin as a whole, I think they've just lost the plot. You don't know who Kiana is from the beginning. You literally know nothing. Your twin is fucking irrelevant. Dainsleif is fucking gone. Nobody helps you. They fucking lost the plot. I don't care about Nodcry. I don't. I'll probably do it just to see what the story is like, but it's going to be fucking ass. It's going to be ass.
Does it really well. In the Nation of War, when worthy warriors are killed in the combat, they can be resurrected via the Ode of Resurrection. Shortly after, the inciting incident is when the sacred flames start dying out, and fails to bring back Kachina after she fell in battle. This actually upset me a bit when I got to this part, since I felt more connection to Kachina than any of the other Natlan casts. I think seeing her fall in battle would have made it hit even harder.
It's almost as cemented as greedy and stupid. I want to get a background picture saying hope this helps, but whatever. Maybe it's a little too mean.
But hey, this is a family-friendly game. You can't show stabbing. That's way too violent. In any case, the nation must find some way to rekindle the fire and repel the Abyss before it's too late. Not to mention before the general populace notices and loses morale. Malvika had already come up with a plan to defeat the Abyss. By resurrecting herself while Natlan rebuilt itself 500 years ago, 6 warriors will be chosen that would eventually fight alongside Malvika against the Abyss. It's admittedly a clever and ambitious plan, and it does show off her reliability as a leader.
Bro, no it's not. Bro, this shit's ass. She's fucking One Punch Man. She's literally a Shonen Jump anime protagonist made to fucking be boring as hell. Like, I feel like I need to find the tweet where it's side by side. They actually copied a fucking kids game when they wrote this story. It's from 8 months ago. It was like a kids game where it's like a bunch of fucking horses. Like, no, it's not. This is not good.
It's that the Fatui Harbinger, captain, comes to take the region.
And Cappuccino was a waste of fucking time.
Since only half of the 6 warriors have been chosen, a better strategy is to use the power of the
Gnosis
to strengthen the ley lines in Natlan instead. He wishes to achieve the same goals, just with a more extreme method.
Yeah, I get it.
This establishes that the captain shares the same interest.
We're talking about WuWa. He calls back to 1.x content when he says he wants to focus mainly on the latest patch. Oh, okay. I will keep that in mind, Chuko. Even the concert in our trailer spot. Yeah, I know. Cappuccino was so sad. Why he's not playable. Why? I don't know if they're saving it for a rainy day, but the way they handled his character model, and everything about him was pretty fucking unfortunate. It's pretty shitty. Pretty trash.
Interests as Natlan, and has some ties to the region.
This cutscene was crazy though. It was great.
Remains to be seen at this point. There's a couple other chapters featuring the other Natlan cast members, though I wasn't able to form an emotional connection with them, to be honest. Most of them came off as rather friendly to the Traveler, and aside from surface level development, there was no significant change to their relationship. It's hard to get invested in their characterization if all their personality and motives are expressed through dialogue instead of being shown what they actually do. For example, Shilonen is an expert craftsman who knows her way around a forge. One of the main driving forces of the plot is forging something called the Ancient Name for the Traveler. Given that they are a foreigner, it's especially difficult to forge one, and she goes on a tangent on just how impossible the task sounds. Well, a couple acts later, she just forges it and gives it to you. One of the most important plot points of the entire arc just happens off camera. Thanks, I guess. One of the other frustrating aspects is the characterization of Malvika. She's regarded as too perfect, and that's kind of the problem. When a character only has one side or trait to play off of, then they can rarely be considered as multifaceted or dynamic.
I think a lot of people speculated that they did rewrites to Natlan prior to the release, and they made Nod cry because they weren't ready for Snezhnaya. Even if that's the case, the intentions shows that this region was never meant to be anything serious. One shows he isn't paying attention to the possible to he downplays the impact of the second awakening of Kinderella, says he didn't mention why 1 regions he closer and see the characters one dimension with no specific examples of reason why. If you can't remember the details of the prior quest, probably is making generalization with no proof. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, I can see that.
Traits are more suitable for your generic one-off NPCs and side quests.
Yeah, probably.
But for a character that's considered the focal point of this region's entire story, it pales in comparison to what MiHoYo was able to achieve with the previous 2 nations.
Yeah,
I'm sure some will be quick to point out that Malvika has other backstories in the form of an animated short that portrays a more vulnerable and humanistic version of herself.
So much better.
But something I want to bring up is that when it comes to consuming any type of media,
her animated short gave her more character than it did in the whole fucking quest. And she had a better outfit. You can't go from Furina, which is the best written Genshin Impact character of all fucking time, and then you go to this. It's fucking crazy. I'm sorry. Like, Furina is a character that genuinely has depth to them and actually, you know, is likable. They were hated at first and they became very likable and fan favorite. And then it's like, you go from that to fucking God. Like, Jesus Christ. It's like, Jesus
Whether
Lord.
it might be a TV show, movie,
I'm good, bro.
Game, aside from the direct media itself, very few people in the community actually engage with content associated outside of it. Even you watching this video represents like 10 minutes to get food. Minority of the Genshin or WuWa's community. The majority of players won't even know that this short exists. And if such important details relating to character development is out there, then why isn't it portrayed within the game? This is far from the first time Genshin does this, and Wuthering Waves has even followed in similar footsteps. Lore implications relating to a character shouldn't be hidden in a profile page, a separate manga or animated short, or in the most egregious of cases, locked behind a time. Aside from the direct media itself, very few people in the community actually engage with content associated outside of it. Even you watching this video represents a minuscule minority of the Genshin or WuWa's community. The majority of players won't even know that this short exists. And if such important details relating to character development is out there, then why isn't it portrayed within the game? This is far from the first time Genshin does this, and Wuthering Waves has even followed in similar footsteps. Lore implications relating to a character shouldn't be hidden in a profile page, a separate manga or animated short.
Wait, but who and again, I don't know because I don't check the character page because I don't fucking care. But I feel like the story in WuWa has been pretty straightforward in the sense of you don't need to know anything else. And Calchero is not in the story at all. So is it anyone other than Calchero that possibly has that? I think it's the opposite. People engage in shorts more than playing the story regarding the shorts. Wait, what do you mean, Baxi? Nah, it's Giga cherry picked. Okay. Donjin. I mean, Donjin's not in the story, but is she providing you any context to the actual game? Like, that's going to help you understand the narrative or no? My assumption is probably no. It is my assumption.
Short, or in the most egregious of cases, locked behind a time-limited event.
No,
the second aspect of the Natlan storyline lacks is conflict. I'm sure everyone learned the literary techniques of writing conflict in high school. There's many ways it can be created, and even more ways to express them. Man versus man versus self, man versus society, man versus nature, you name it. Conflict is the central obstacle that the protagonist must overcome to achieve a goal, and it can be split into other smaller conflicts that creates even more nuance or develops a character in some way. When two allies start disagreeing with something and things get heated, when the protagonist starts doubting themselves and breaks down in denial. Any conflict the Natlan storyline portrays is either quickly resolved or trivial in nature.
Yeah.
Whether external or internal, conflict is a major driving force in creating urgency and tension, and it's something that's not explored nearly enough in these two games' writing.
Yeah.
Anyways, eventually, the Abyss lays.
I think there's a fair amount of conflict in WuWa. I think there's been more amount of conflict in the past fucking 3 patches of WuWa than there's been in all of Genshin, other than Fontaine. And maybe Inazuma with Raiden. but that was resolved pretty quickly too. So it definitely feels a little weird. It definitely. I'm very curious as to the rest of the things he's gonna say about WuWa. I mean, like off rip. Granted, Act 1 I thought was fucking trash, but like fucking Act 5 and 6 is like that's literally a war. Like you're actually fighting a fucking war against all of the fucking enemies. So I don't know.
Siege on Natlan. There's a pretty cool Warzone minigame where you have to defend certain points on a map, and the amount of casualties are tallied on a chart. I'm sure the intention was to show the brutality of war, though it's hard to care about those that perished in the war because they're just numbers on the screen.
Yeah.
It's like how if you see an NPC with the generic face and eye structure, then you know they're not going to end up mattering. Genshin has established a rule that playable characters cannot die. This already removes some emotional baggage because none of the important cast is actually in any danger. Nothing of value is lost, and Malvika shows no sign of doubt or weakness amidst all this.
100%.
The final warriors are chosen, and the team ends up defeating the Abyss, accompanied by very...
Bro, I just imagine Paimon's VA. Wow! Traveler! Malvika used her motorcycle to get out! I hope this helps. Yo, they are never gonna live that down. I hope this helps. I'm sorry, man. They ain't never living that down.
Visuals.
Oh,
however, the Abyss is not eradicated from Natlan.
Fuck me.
So after the Traveler receives their ancient name, they tag along with Malvika into the Night Kingdom.
Does it really? Yeah, I gotta fix my mic. Maybe they just don't want me to do that voice. They're like, don't do it.
An end to everything.
Don't do it.
As the battle concludes and the duo emerge victorious, amidst all the celebration, Malvika goes missing. Abyss is not eradicated from Natlan for good. So after the Traveler receives their ancient name, they tag along with Malvika into the Night Kingdom to...
I think I'm gonna make it like a background. I hope this helps. I think I have to.
Put an end to everything. As the battle concludes...
Dude, this is gonna be so cool. Oh, dude, I gotta use Malvika, and I get to travel on the Rainbow Road into the Abyss.
Victorious, amidst all the celebration, Malvika goes missing. As it turns out, being able to access the ability to resurrect fallen warriors came at a cost. The eventual death of the Pyro Archon. As Malvika goes to the god of death to sacrifice herself, the captain arrives at the last minute and offers to accept him as a substitute instead. He explains that he was once a Conrian that fought in the war 500 years ago and was given the curse of immortality. In order to release the souls of his fallen comrades into the ley lines, he offers to be merged with a Lord of the Night, altering the rules of the ley lines so that the souls of Conrians are accepted too, while also allowing himself to be freed from the curse of immortality. A perfect solution to the conflict. This is what most refer to as a deus ex machina in storytelling, a plot device where a seemingly unsolvable problem is conveniently resolved for the protagonist without logic or setup. Nobody knew that the captain held the curse of immortality or his backstory until he walked in. There's a lack of build-up to this moment, so the resolution feels less like the cast earned it, but rather, they got lucky, and it just happened to work out. The Traveler is showered with praise for the length of an entire quest, almost to the point of comical. Look at me having a jolly time. Wait, why am I in Natlan again? Something about finding a lost sibling? Now I hope you haven't forgotten about Wuthering Waves, because as much as I thought a sci-fi apocalyptic war...
So far, very fair on the Genshin side. I think Natlan still sucks. I don't really think there's much positive to say about it. But yeah, really solid stuff so far. Definitely excited to see what happens here. This is going to be interesting. Also, my food's going to be here in 2 minutes, so I'll probably pause the recording to play Spider-Man in the meantime.
World will be able to break Genshin's curse. I was wrong. I recently played and completed the Renacida storyline up to...
Okay, this is why people are mad, right? Because you can... Okay. It's one thing to say you don't like the storytelling of WuWa, which, by the way, is the best fucking part of it. It's literally like a Marvel movie. But off rip saying it doesn't break the curse of Genshin, you were wrong. When Genshin stories are a lot of the times 10 plus hours to complete a full Archon quest, where it's mainly dialogue bloat. Like the end of Sumeru, Act 4 of Sumeru, I think it was Act 5, was 5 hours or 4 hours and 40 minutes. And the climax happened around the 3-hour mark. And then there was another hour and a half of dog shit. Like there was, you talk to Cappuccino, and then after that, you celebrate with Nilou, and she's fucking dancing around. And it's like, if you're going to use that type of verbiage, and you're going to use that wording, when it has broken that spell in some regards, it's not perfect. Absolutely not perfect. But it's substantially better in a lot of ways. Yeah, you're gonna get flack for it, absolutely. I got my quesadilla and I got my alcohol. Let's continue.
A sibling? Now, I hope you haven't forgotten about Wuthering Waves, because as much as I thought a sci-fi apocalyptic world will be able to break Genshin's curse, I was wrong. I recently played and completed the Renacida storyline up to the most recent Act 4, the latest expansion that borrows influence from Italy, and its map suspiciously resembles a page out of Elden Ring, but that must be my imagination.
Sure.
Worth mentioning that the Renacida storyline is technically not entirely finished, though the first 3 acts released in 2.0, with the 4th having been released just a few days ago, wrapping up a portion of the arc nicely. You can make the argument that it's not fair to judge an unfinished story, but the way I see it, 2.0 already presented a fairly complete storyline, with the additional arcs tagging on after it. And I don't see how the story would end.
Yo, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. Did 2.0 show a complete storyline? Did it really? Think, by the way, I was actually kind of disappointed in 2.2 that we didn't get more of the the original cast. Not that it was bad, but I feel like it wasn't completed. Like, I feel like am I crazy? Am I stupid to assume that, or no? I don't know. You let me know. I don't think it was completed. I think there's a lot of fucking ways to continue that, but okay.
That would change my opinions. Now,
Oh.
Renacida has improved the game in many ways in general, and I'll be making a 1-year review on the game sometime this month, but in my honest opinion, the story was not one of its improvements. The world of Wuthering Waves takes place on Solaris 3, where the humanoid enigmatic
This is
being
so bad.
known as the Rover descends on the planet. They're on a journey to figure out who they are and what their purpose is. A quest for self-actualization, if you will. The primary issue I have with Wuthering Waves' overall story premise is that it's too abstract.
That's what I'm saying,
The
it's
Rover's
hard.
quest for self-actualization is too vague to have a goal to cling on to. Unlike Genshin's Traveler, whose mission is to reunite with a loved one, is relatable and tangible, finding one's purpose in the
Reuniting with the loved one isn't even the premise anymore. Like, I'm sorry, that's just cap. It's just not the premise. That premise was lost after 1.3. It's not vague. Well, here's the thing. Even if you think it's vague, it's not. But even if that's your interpretation of it, for whatever reason, I don't even care. The comparison is fucking crazy. Because it's like, in all of those, right? Yo, Gojo, thank you for the raid, brother. Welcome in, man. Yeah, it doesn't feel all over the place. Like, Genshin's is actively all over the place. I don't know. I can see why people don't like this video so far. And thank you, brother. Again, I appreciate the raid. Thank you so much.
world
We're
can
recording a video, but I appreciate you. Thank you.
literally be about anything.
Hope you had a
I don't
great
know
time.
what the Rover's end goal
Easy W.
is, so it's harder for me to relate to them as a protagonist. Wuthering Waves follows the classic Chosen One trope, where the Rover is portrayed as very powerful, wielding extraordinary abilities. They possess great combative skills and are generally well liked by everyone. I feel there's a lot of parallel in the characterization of the Rover compared to Malvika. Once you draw the comparisons, a lot of the same
It's not even close. It's actually not even close. The Rover struggles. Rover actually struggles, needs help, finds things, finds out other powers over time. Like, I don't even think the two are comparable. I think if you look at it on a surface level, with no base understanding of the game, I think sure you could say that. But I think this is like such a fucking wild comparison. Like, this is a Atsu, it's the same photo like moment. It's like, I don't know about that one, buddy. But boy, we're
problems start
going
to
into
arise.
weird territory here.
One, at no point in the story does the Rover actually struggle
very
or
weird territory.
sacrifices something significant to achieve something. Every battle ends in their triumph, and it gives
that's
off
not
the
really
impression
true
that
either.
they can overpower any foe. In other words, a lack of conflict. This is a far cry from what Crow Games was able to achieve with punishing Grey Raven. I'm making my way through the campaign, and I
I'm gonna let him cook real quick. I want to hear what he has to say. Lack of conflict.
gotta say, what the hell happened with Wuthering Waves' writing team? In PGR, there are numerous times where you actually lose. A new foe is just too strong, and you either have to face some losses or sacrifice in order to continue. You are not always the hero in the story, but it makes the payoff in the end just that much more worth it. You can't experience the highs without feeling the lows. I often found that because of the
I think people have this misconception that if a character doesn't die, that means that it's bad. That's why I said do play 1.3. No, not at all. No, yeah, you could tell. And I mean, just because a character doesn't die, although a character did technically die, legitimately, right? Doorkeeper, him sacrificing his memories. It's like there's this weird framing of there's no conflict when there has constantly been conflict and sacrifice, but it's not like PGR because someone didn't outright just fucking straight up rip IRL, like in game, of course. You know what I mean? Like, the framing is a little, I don't know. Did he skip the story? Like did he skip the story to just maybe not understand it? Like genuine question. Does anyone know? I don't think losing his memory is a fair argument for us, player. We don't know what those are or why they ever lost them. No, I feel like they explain why he loses his memory, right? Like, am I bugging? Did they not explain that? Am I making that up?
Vague premise, I found myself having some difficulty relating to what the rover's actions are. I can tell they have some way to convene with the deities of this world and are supposed to fill a big role. Yet I have no clue what it is, nor has the game given me a reason to care. Take the Black Shores questline, for example. We learned that the rover played a big part in building this place, and that their loyal companion Shorekeeper has been waiting for their return. The issue is, I don't know what the Black Shore is. I don't know who Shorekeeper is. So instead of experiencing a heartwarming reunion, I feel like a third wheel watching from afar. Like, I can tell you're very close to one another, but where am I in all this? When Aether finally enjoys a short reprieve to chat with his sister, I share his sense of longing. The build-up feels proper, as even the player knows that they haven't been able to get together like this in a while. You can't expect the audience to care about a relationship between two characters without any setup, which again, ties back to that original.
Well, wasn't there a setup? Like, did I upload this one to my channel? Wasn't there a setup, like, actively for 3 hours and 14 minutes? The setup prior to that?
It's time. Let's see. Everyone.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yo, brother, thank you for the follow up. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Welcome in, homie. I actually don't know what he's talking about. And I think it's a little crazy to compare a 5-year storyline. She's just saying doesn't know the Black Shore. Yeah, exactly. But also, Genshin Impact's Finding Your Traveler is a 5-year storyline that has really no real setups. It has been on and off for years, and people have stopped caring about it. They took a similar, I don't even want to say a similar story, but he's trying to compare the two and made it fucking complete in 3 hours and 14 minutes to the point where you have emotional depth and it actually makes you feel something and you understand the premise. I actually don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm just going to be honest with you. Yeah, bro pretending the Port City didn't fucking get terminated. It's kind of weird. I don't know if this video was made in bad faith, but I think he thought he was cooking, but he's really not. The comparisons are fucking just not it.
For the record, I don't have a problem with the unpredictability of Wuthering Waves' overall premise.
Okay.
Some might argue that the Traveler obviously can't reunite with their sibling until the entirety of Teyvat is unlocked, given the live service nature of the game, and I can certainly see some validity in that. A lot of the best gacha game stories I've read in the past also have fairly vague premises, but something that makes those
Well, sorry. Here's the thing. NS, I get this perspective, versus I think he's trying to say that the story is too short to build any real relationship. They did a great job in 3 hours. They did a great job in 3 hours. You don't need 10 hours of dialogue, 5 years of build-up. If anything, Genshin feels like it's lacking because it has been 5 years and there's still nothing. And there's still fucking nothing. I think 3 hours is a perfect spot. Look at the most recent quest. I think that took me about 2.5 hours. The Cartethia shit was fucking crazy. I was gooning all over. This is why I said you can't trust the breakdown of anything too if he's just starting shit fact like this. Yeah, I think I don't even think this perspective of saying that maybe there's not enough buildup is even a bad thing, because you can say some stories can be short, but a 3.5 hour story where they're able to make the connection really solidify and make you feel something throughout the whole thing and then deliver on it and kind of close that chapter with kind of leaving it open a little bit. What more do you want? What more do you fucking want? If you understand that the gacha game, as he said in the beginning of the video, cannot change the whole world, it cannot change the whole premise of everything, it can't do all this shit, that's like the perfect quest for you. That's like actually like it would legitimately be the perfect quest for you to play. I don't know, bro. I don't know what he's talking about. I really don't.
Is how self-contained.
I'm trying to be as objective here as possible because I fuck with this dude's videos, but I don't know what he's yapping about.
Each portion of the story.
I don't.
For example, saving humanity is obviously a very abstract concept.
Of
it's
course.
Usually broken down into smaller chunks so that it makes more sense why you're doing certain things. Take PGR's Chapter 16, for example. You know, same company and all. the punishing virus's effect on the Earth's surface is as great as ever. In order to have a chance of developing a weapon that can combat it, a mission was devised to send the Grey Raven squad to the front lines of an operation to extract a sample from a densely corrupted area. Your squad is chosen because of your recent victories that will further bolster hope should you succeed. The overall goal of the game is pretty vague, but each chapter presents a tangible goal that you're working towards. But let's talk about Renacida. What's that all about? Well, Solaris' environment often experiences...
But, like, what was that supposed to add to the argument? Like, am I missing it? What did that add? I feel like we're comparing it to a game that is just a completely different story. Chapter 13. When did TGR Chapter 13 release? How long into the game is that? How long into the game is that? That was about, what, a year? Chapter 16? I don't know. I think like 3 years ago. So what is that, like a year into the game? Talking about other games in the WuWa section? Yeah, I think he's reaching. I think you could make like fair critiques about WuWa's story. I haven't heard anything yet, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, genuinely? Sorry. I know the Gathering Wives meme, it's a meme or whatever. Like, you could say maybe you don't like that, which is fine, I guess. It is what it is. I think they do it very tastefully, but, like, there's nothing been here where it's, like, a got you moment. 3+ years ago. Like this is not a got you moment, you know?
Natural
it took a while. It's not like...
the lament.
Yeah, it took a while as well. That's what I'm assuming. Like, it's not, like, right out the gate.
Where certain locations warps and
Yeah.
transforms, breaking the logic and physics of the world. This results in the wave-worn phenomenon, where laments can create gates where deformed creature-like beings known as tacit discords spew onto their environment. And they can take on many forms based on the wavelength of the disturbance. Defeating one
So
may
they're wrong?
transform them into an echo, in which you can harness their powers yourself. During the rover's journey, they manifest a small creature from the tacit mark from their hand, which they believe to be an echo. However, Abby is fully sentient and can speak, a trait unlike other ordinary echoes. After the Black Shore's questline, the rover decides to venture to Renacida,
Yeah.
a region well known for its echo technology, in the hopes of figuring out exactly what Abby is and why its frequency seems to be fading.
Okay.
Plus, a vision of the rover's past self says that they have once made a pact with the Imperator. I got no clue who that is yet, but sure, this is a good step in the direction of figuring out the rover's identity. So, let's do it. Your wife, Shorekeeper, explains that the rover even received an invitation from the Montelli family, one of the major ruling factions in Renacida, requesting their aid and
I wanna let
granting
him
entry into the region. So there's no
Let him
reason
cook.
not to go. This is a good start. It gives you something to cling
You need to have an idea of what entails a good story, or a video will make no sense. If you don't, then you could just say story good, bad. No one can disprove it because there's only subjective perception. He talks about other games which have better stories to drive home the point. That WuWa storytelling pales in comparison. If you can't define a good story, then the video will make no sense. Well, the thing is, Selkie, everyone's definition of a good story varies, right? Also, WuWa storytelling is fine. Like, it's probably the best of the genre. The most type of cuts. The best cutscenes. The least amount of dialogue bloat. You know? Interesting characters. Actually getting straight to the point. Like, WuWa has the best storytelling. There can be absolutely negatives to parts of the story. 1000%. But I feel like it's just a stretch to kind of lump them in together. And this dude's obviously entitled to have his opinion. But I don't fucking know what he's yapping about. WuWa storytelling, good. Yes. Story, nah. The story of WuWa is not a Witcher 3. Right? Genshin Impact story is not a Witcher 3. It's not a Black Myth Wukong. Then I will say Genshin storytelling is good. You can't disprove it. If we rely subjectively to make that point, sure. I mean, sure. Right? But the things that he's comparing in this game aren't really making sense. He's saying the rover hasn't gone through any struggles. He hasn't done anything really of importance. The story's too short to gain some sort of investment in them, which is like, I mean, okay, if you want to feel that way, it is what it is, but like, to compare Rover to Mavica is fucking crazy. Like, Mavica has the most dog shit dialogue. She does nothing in the game. She's literally One Punch Man. Nothing of value occurs. Nothing has consequences in Genshin Impact. Nothing has consequences in Genshin Impact. There's been some consequences in WuWa. Now, it's not affecting the open arching world that we're playing in, and like, you know, the buildings aren't falling apart even more, or like something bad happened here. but there's fucking consequences, right? It might not be on the way this guy likes it, but as he stated in the beginning of the video, the reason why you can't make those type of changes to the environment is because you're selling characters. So I really don't know what the fuck he's yapping about. Like, I don't know. I mean, I saw Jenna watching towards the end of it in like his chat earlier, like super early in the morning. I was kind of like half asleep, so I'm just like, whatever. But you can always argue objective aspects to make something a good or bad story. Yeah, Rosalie is saying he doesn't know about the Black Shirt or what Shorekeeper is a little bit one, but through the explain what he mentions. Yeah, like it's all there. Sure, it doesn't need to be amazing. It ultimately just needs to be an enjoyable product. And for WuWa, it seems pretty enjoyable. I think it's very enjoyable. I think it's enjoyable as fuck. I really do. And it's not just go point A, point B to point C. There's things in between. There's fun puzzles. There's fun mini games. There's fun action sequences. There's cool quick time events. Like, I don't know, man. It's missing the mark for me. This guy normally cooks. This is missing the mark.
Though my main gripe is that aside from being a quirky mascot character, the story has not made enough effort to build up emotional ties to Abby. But hey, this goal is definitely related to their quest for discovering who they are. So
I don't know if I agree with that.
How the story goes. As they set sail in the dense fog, they're shipwrecked by a giant whale-like beast, and are saved by Captain Brant's ship. He presents himself as friendly and hospitable. While you meet
I'll let the Abby thing slide, if I'm going to be honest with you. Just because I know people don't like mascots. I hated Abby at first. I fucking adore Abby now. It is what it is. I'm not even going to nitpick. You probably just have Genshin PTSD. That's probably what it is. Because Abby's actually providing fun dialogue and important dialogue to the story. It was so against Abby at first. I really was. I'm tired of this whole mascot thing. But they do it tastefully. Comment over Abby, mod Swiss's balls. So I'll leave that point alone because I think it's fucking stupid to argue. But whatever. I mean, it is, again, I think that's a Genshin PTSD thing, absolutely.
Meet his crew of cuddly-shaped echoes. Even the ship itself is one too. You get a slight glimpse of a sinister-looking flower embedded into the whale that attacked you, hinting that maybe it was under some kind of mind control. As Brant bids you farewell at the harbor and into Raguna City, you're greeted by Phoebe, an acolyte of the Order of the Deep, the de facto governing body in town.
Shut up, murder.
You surely meet Zani, a banker that works for the Montelli family that offers to show you around.
Zani!
As you lounge around for a meal, you witness an echo suddenly attacking people. At the last second, you see a brief vision of the Sentinel requesting your aid. Carlotta, the daughter of the...
So right then and there, you get more into the rover story itself and also consequences in which that the echoes around out and about and could possibly just killing one and randomly. So off rip in the first 10-15 minutes, they set the tone of exactly what's coming. So I don't know if maybe like that's something that bro might have overlooked because it doesn't seem like a big deal, but that's a pretty big fucking deal, right? You know,
the Montelli family explains that Rina Sita,
but they set the expectations of what's going to happen, and like pretty fucking early on. And if you pay attention, you follow the story, you understand what's happening, you're not skipping every dialogue, and you get to the end of that 2.0, you're like, oh fuck! Not only am I looking down, looking at the rover's tits, but I'm now meeting this person, and then they leave you on that cliffhanger. Like I don't know, man. I don't fucking know what we're doing here. If this was a video about 1.0 prior to Act 6, I'd be all on that ass. I'm like, bro, that shit was fucking trash. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't get it. I'm really not too sure.
Echo technology is restricted to the locals, but there lies a way to make it available to everyone. However, the Order believes that this technology is too dangerous to be shared with the outside world and should be safeguarded. But Carlotta believes that they just wish to harness its powers for themselves, hence why she invited the rover here to help with ending this dispute. During your investigations, you find evidence of the Order, the Pseychie family, and the Fraxidus attempting to throw the region into chaos. Even some in the Montelli family has been corrupted to join their side. This scheme seems to go deeper than it looks. You end up separated on a nearby island. It's then that you meet Brant once again. He explains that when someone has broken a law of Raguna City, the Order proclaims them as fools and banishes them to this realm part of the Pilgrim's Sail, which they must meet with the fabled Sentinel of Rina Sita and atone for their wrongdoings.
Wham.
Unexpectedly, this desolate place full of destruction is the actual place that all fools end up, and all they really meet is their doom. Brant survived the sail and formed his crew to help others that end up here with a new purpose and a new life.
I think he's doing a really good job of explaining the story, so I'm pretty confused as to where the disconnect is. If you want me to be honest with you, I think this might be one of those situations where people just expect way too much from a gacha game. But even for a gacha game, dude, Wuthering Wave storytelling is better than a lot of AAA games in terms of cutscenes and again animations and stuff. I don't know. I don't know what the point of this is, but let's continue.
This
I'm gonna
basically
stop saying. I
cements
just
the
don't
Order as
know.
an overtly evil faction that condemns criminals to death. The fools come to the conclusion that the opposition will try
Like,
to
am I
disrupt
crazy?
the upcoming carnival.
Am I missing something?
City. So after practicing a dance with Carlotta for some reason, you set for the festival, just in time to foil the plans of the Fraxidus. The Order, pleased with the crew with restoring the peace, offers a cooperation that will allow them to perform within the city. This marks the end of 2.0, but there's still so much that needs to be answered. What was the relationship of the Fraxidus with the Order?
Exactly,
What was the
cliffhanger.
Phasaelius family's role in all this?
Yeah.
So let's analyze this part. In case you notice
Okay.
there's a lot of jargon and foreign names that were brought up, you'll be absolutely right. It is complex, and if you really dig into it, there's a lot of information to appreciate and digest. But the player isn't presented with a good moment-to-moment story. Aside from that, I never felt emotionally invested in any of the Renacida characters at this point. They're neutral or friendly to the rover, have no
The Renacida characters absolutely do a better job than all of the 1.0 characters in actually making it excuse me, in actually making them feel like they're important and they matter, and there's a sense of like funny word unionship and like camaraderie between all of them. Brant saves you. You're out here understanding Carlotta. Like, I feel like if you're not emotionally attached to Carlotta, you're probably just not paying attention. This was a point of contention that me and Rednew had that I agree with him, and I changed my stance on as time went on, and I watched the story back again. The Gathering Wives thing, the Carlotta story was so much more than just gathering wives. And she was vulnerable with you, and you have these great times and these great memories, and you're riding the gondola. And I just can't see how you don't see that. You could say maybe it's not for me, or you're tired of that trope. Although, again, I think they do it very tastefully. I think that's fine. But I think to pretend like it doesn't exist is an issue. And that's why there's backlash. Like that is why this video is going to get fucking ripped to shred by a bunch of people. Because we're pretending it doesn't exist. I just don't think that's true.
no character arcs or development, and have no noteworthy traits or actions that make them memorable, aside from some fan service. Not to mention, it gets the rover no significant
2 seconds,
progress
Chair.
to figuring out what Abby is, which is the reason why they traveled here in the first place. It's the same set of problems as Natlan. Now, I'm not saying that the entire plot needs to follow the rover's quest for self-actualization, since I don't have a problem with writers just doing their own thing and creating a contained story just for this region. I'm saying that the payoff is just not there for the long runtime that the first 3 acts had. So, does Act 4 improve the story?
Act 1 and 2 where 1 was 2 hours and 31 minutes. Okay, Act 1 and 2 was 4 hours in total. So you say roughly maybe 2 each? Roughly maybe 2 each. And Act 3 was 2 hours and 21 minutes. I think that's a great runtime. I think 3 acts under, it's about 6 hours. 6 hours and 30 minutes underneath, I think is fine. It's probably a little bit shorter because I was yapping a little bit. I see nothing wrong with that. Establish world building, establish characters, establish the plot, set up for future plots, and then they deliver on the future plot. It was just fan service. I mean, like, the disconnect is they put some important stuff in other places than the main story, like the previous head of Pseychie YouTube page saying the true maiden. I mean, like, listen, you could always make arguments like that for games and whatnot, and I don't even think that's like a bad counter, but there's nothing missing from this game. It's not like Genshin. You don't need to read a 50-page book to understand what's happening in the world and understand the lore of Teyvat and things like that. All of the information is presented to you, and then they can sprinkle more shit onto it afterwards, right? So I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know.
Well, actually, I would say it does do a couple things better. This arc involves finding out the identity of Cardathea, a mysterious girl that appeared at the end of the Carnival. Basically, there are 2 types of deities in Wuthering Waves, Sentinels and Threnodians. The Sentinels are essentially the guardians of humanity, aka the good guys, while the Threnodians represent destruction and unleashed chaos across the world. They both have their respective resonator that's supposed to be, in a way, their right-hand man. According to Fenrico, the Primus, or head of the Order, he is the rightful resonator to Renacida's Sentinel. Meanwhile, the girl you see before you had deceived everyone in the events of a catastrophe 20 years ago, and is actually the resonator for the evil Threnodian.
I appreciate you,
instead.
Pack Snacks.
I will say, in
I
terms
appreciate
of the
you,
writing,
dog. Thank
I
you,
did feel
thank
a
you.
couple moments here and there that
Appreciate
made me
you,
feel
homie.
attached to Cardathea, whilst exploring a gravity-defying floating ruin. I'll save the critique for the environmental design in a separate review video, but
Okay.
overall, because the story focuses on bonding with a single
Environmental design did it did drag on a little bit for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sitting on the gondola at fucking a snail speed dragged on, but it wasn't the biggest deal in the world. the fucking quest was still like an 8.5 or 9. You know what I'm saying? I think it's fine.
That it actually achieves some degree of development. Oh, I guess Cantarella's there too, but she's just kind of there on the side.
I do wish Cantarella had more.
None of the previous characters in the first 3 acts are involved at all. At
That's
most,
fine.
Carlotta leaves you a short audio message before she sits back in
literally
the cup
okay.
chair. The game has shifted the story's focus to the next set of cast at this point. Even
Yes.
so, because the majority of Act 4 screen time is focused on Cardathia,
That's
not even
fine.
the one other character involved in the plot is given enough time to develop. I'm someone that judges a character's actions not in the degree of impact, but rather the emotional meaning it brings. If Mortefi walked up to the rover and said, "I just solved world hunger and found the cure for cancer," my response would be, "Cool, I guess." Mortefi is an extremely minor side character that barely has any presence in the story.
What does this have to do with Renacida? What does Mortefi have to do with Renacida? I'm so confused here. Like, you could have said maybe Phoebe, I mean, which is still wrong. Like, that's not a good example. But I'm just picking another Renacida character. I think we all complained that these characters didn't feel as important, and they changed it and made it, like, important in Renacida. So I don't know what the fuck bro's going on about Mortefi.
So anything
Like,
he
I
does,
don't
even if
get
it's the
it.
most heroic deed ever, has no meaning to me. The degree of impact of his action is high, but carries no emotional significance. Now, I'm a big sucker for
Holy
romance
tangent?
stories.
Well, it's not a tangent. He's trying to prove a point, but he's not proving the point within the confines of what he said, right? So his initial point was that in Renacida, these characters don't matter. And then it goes back to 1.0, which was a year ago or 11 months ago. So it feels like I feel this way currently, and the reason why I feel this way is because this is what happened a year ago, as opposed to looking at it saying, okay, what's happening now? What's happening in the past 3 months of the game? More about getting the points across? I think, I don't know, man. I mean, listen, I think the guy, he doesn't have to like the story. I don't think anyone's forcing him to like the story, but I feel like it just feels like a lot of hoopla. A lot of hoopla! Like, it just feels like a lot of stances that don't really make sense. His entire opinion seems to be based on if I could initially test story was bad. I guess. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I actually don't know what he's trying to say. I really don't. And again, I like this dude. I'm not going to crash out on him and shit, like fucking call him a fucking asshole, but I just don't know what he's talking about.
One of my absolute favorites to this day is
What the
2004's visual novel Clannad. The protagonist, Tomoya, is just a regular high school delinquent that found a new purpose in supporting a new family with his loved one.
I think you just think the story's too short. Obviously, I'm not shitting on you, but that's perfect. Guys, nobody wants a 10-hour story quest. Well, one of the reasons why HSR 3.0 was so bad was because it was 10 hours. It was 2.5 hours of puzzles. It was filled with a bunch of bullshit. There was no consequences in the fucking story. And it was just a waste of time. That's why. That's why that shit sucked. And the reason why WuWa didn't suck is because it was the exact opposite. It was the exact opposite. And that's what people wanted.
One, Nagisa. Both of them are neither rich nor extraordinary. Residing in a small house,
me, I'm rich and
Tomoya's body
extraordinary.
aches all over after a grueling day of working as an electrician.
I agree, Nando.
Just as he slumps home tired and beat, Nagisa
Let me rephrase that. If the story was good, 10 hours would be fine, but it's not good, so it's trash.
is there to welcome him with a meal. In this turbulent society, Tomoya realizes the weight of adulthood, and he now has a purpose protecting and nurturing this small family. Just maybe, everything will work out in the end. The degree of impact is low, but the emotional weight
I'm gonna be honest with this shit, I've done no companion quest. I've done the Gion one, the Yinland one, and that's it. And I understand the story perfectly fine. You don't even need to do the companion quest. The main story explains enough for you. Like, it's not that deep. It's not. Like, it's just not, you know?
of the action is high. This is what I want to see in storytelling, because building a unique bond with a character takes a lot of effort. And this is why Cardathia feels more organic, since the game has actually spent an entire arc dedicated to spending time
I'll look
with
at
her.
it after.
As for everything else, though, I can't say the same. So when Cantarella sacrificed the powers she obtained
Well,
from
hold on, I missed that. I missed
a
what you
lot
said.
of effort. And this is why Cardathia feels more organic, since the game has actually spent an entire arc dedicated to spending time with her. As for everything else, though, I can't say the same. So when Cantarella sacrificed the powers she obtained from a second awakening, that sacrifice is meaningless to me. I don't know what struggles she faced while making that decision. The story has not built enough rapport with her to know exactly what that entails. It's the Shallonen Ancient Name case all over again. Later the same evening, I read the first section of
I will say I would have loved to see more Cantarella. That I will say. I will say I would have loved to see more Cantarella, more focus on Cantarella. But I mean, I think they did enough. Like, I feel like he wants a hangout. I think it's more of you didn't do no, I didn't do the Gunarilla quest. I think it's more of they're just saving shit like that for the companion quest to sell the character. So that feels like a normal gacha thing, right? Like it's not exclusive to WuWa, Wuthering Waves. So again, I don't know. Kind of feels a little weird. I get the Cantarella part a little bit, but I still think it was alright. Like I think she had enough screen time, you know?
Punishing Grey Ravens, Chapter 17.
Stop bringing... Yo, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna keep it a stack. I don't like... Why are we bringing up PGR every 5 seconds, bro? Oh my god, son. I don't care. I don't care. Bro, there's a reason why PGR has 12 viewers right now on Twitch. Watch this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, like... Punishing Grey... Bro, that shit got 9 viewers, son. Get the fuck out of here. I'm tired of this PGR shit, bro. Highest person that got 2 fucking views. 2 fucking views. Jesus. Hello, Say. Hope you're having a great day. Can we get a fast shout out for Say? Have you seen how generous PGR endgame is in their story? Bro, I don't, like, I'm gonna tell you, I don't care. I think that game sucks. We're a 6-9 tangent for Wood to prove an imaginary point, but he slays and focus in Genshin. Yeah, it's like, holy shit. Like, fuck me, bro. Stop bringing up PGR, man. They fucking Genshin made Honkai Impact 3, bro. They did the fucking the Himiko quest, and everybody came, and then it went down from there. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, I know there's a bunch of, like, I just think I'm tired of seeing this. Stop it. Not every fucking character needs to die. Jesus
and
Lord.
It is a night and day difference.
Oh,
so much so
fuck
that
me.
I almost can't believe the same company made both games.
Oh,
Stuck in an
fuck
overcrowded
me.
refugee camp with limited supplies while enemies are closing in, the Grey Raven squad must find some way to evacuate everyone to a safe place. All the while, the Commandant is still unconscious from a previous injury. Even though the place is cramped with nameless NPCs, the writing does an extremely good job of capturing the hopelessness of the situation. The unrest of the crowd is there might not be enough time to evacuate everyone. The small glimmers of hope as Liv performs a song amidst the despair. The troubled debates in the upper commands on how to combat the newly evolved enemies. This is visceral storytelling. It's not that Wuthering Waves' writing doesn't have anything to show for it. It's just that compared...
I think he needs to just play PGR. I do. I think he would really like PGR. And I think that's where he can get that. He can get his visual novel, where it's narrow as fuck, and it's just a bunch of fucking reading. And in WuWa, he can get his Marvel-like cutscenes with good storytelling that apparently is not as emotional for him. I think you could just... Very different stories. I don't get his comparison. He's pretty much saying, how could they not write such a encompassing, emotional story in Wuthering Waves when they're able to make you feel like there's a sense of urgency in PGR? But again, we're working in the premise of 2 completely separate universes, 2 completely different types of games. Like... It's not even close. Like, it's not like the Limbus Company has such an upper hand in storytelling, but it only has one thing to focus on. It's the dialogue, right? It's pretty much a visual novel with some gameplay. The changes to the world that they can make in Limbus Company, you will never see because it's not like that. It's a zone-based game just like this shit. I don't know, bro. Like, fuck me, please. Talk about Renesita. I don't care that Mortefi saved cancer. I want to know why you don't like Rina fucking Sita.
To the game
Please.
that the same company has made, it is a laughable downgrade.
Oh,
I think a good twist
me.
would be if
Oh,
Cardathia was actually...
Bro, that's fucking 9 views on Twitch. That's fucking 9 viewers on Twitch. I'm sorry. Please.
Evil resonator, and she was just stringing the rover all along to fit her own agenda. And that Fenrico was actually in the right. It would flip the narrative entirely on its head and subvert everything you know about Rina Sita. The comically evil guy wearing the ominous mask was the righteous one all along. Now that would have been something. To sum it up,
But it's not though. That's not what it is. You know, Paimon could have been the big bad boss at the end of Natlan. They could have, but it's fucking not. Same devs, same company. People got a PGR food ready WuWa team, but not same devs. Bro says, wouldn't it be a twist if there was a 38 resident when she literally is? Like he wants her to do like a heel turn and then fucking kill everyone and be like, nah, that would be cool though. And it's just like I think we're lost in the sauce, man. Like, she doesn't need to do a heel turn. She technically did, bro, kind of indirectly. It's like, I don't know. I fucking, okay.
Do I think Wuthering Waves has better storytelling than Genshin? My answer is a resounding no.
Oh,
Critiquing
fuck.
the story is one thing, but I will say this.
Oh,
One of the most
God.
frustrating responses from hardcore
All
fans that I
right.
see whenever someone brings up a critique is,
Yeah.
you just don't get it.
Okay.
These stories are actually really well written. There's so much lore and background info that you're not understanding. You fail to notice the finer details that make you
Wait, he said that. Hold on.
no. Critiquing the story is one guy wearing the ominous mask was the righteous one all along. Now that would have been something. To sum it up, do I think Wuthering Waves has better storytelling than Genshin? My answer is a resounding no.
I hope he lays out what he considers storytelling point by point by point. Because I think to say Genshin has better storytelling, nothing is objective, but nothing they do in Genshin is anywhere close to how they present it in WuWa. Like, it's not even on the same playing field. So if you ask me, Genshin doesn't feel like a Gen 2 gacha. Genshin feels like a Gen 1.5. It's like in that middle ground of it's kind of there, but it's really outdated and it's really lacking in a lot of departments. So I'm very curious to see how he can tell me that the static camera angles and the one animated fucking cutscene that's kind of unique every 4 hours is better. I'm very excited to hear this. He complained about the order and the fractals not making sense and not being explained. Isn't done yet, so like it's far. Yeah, I know. Story's arguable. Storytelling in WoW is way better. Yeah, like you could make an argument for Genshin's story being better because there's more lore to it, the world's around more shit like that, like whatever. But storytelling, I just don't see. Like it does. I will say this objectively: WoWa fucking shits on Genshin storytelling. There is no fucking shadow of a doubt about that. Like there just isn't. There isn't, right? So
critiquing the story is one thing, but I will say this. One of the most frustrating responses from hardcore fans that I see whenever someone brings up a critique is, you just don't get it.
I do think that
These
critique is
stories are actually
annoying.
really well written.
I do think the
There's
critique's
so much
annoying.
lore and background info that you're
Or just skip WoW story for interesting. Yeah, what's going on, Math? How you feeling, brother? Yeah, that's what it seems like.
not understanding.
That's
You
what it seems
fail
like.
to notice the finer details that make you appreciate the writing. That is true. Both entries, especially Genshin, have a rich backlog of all the lore and timeline happening during and before the events of the game. So much so that some people online are dedicated to discussing Genshin lore. I'm not saying that a complicated story is bad. Quite the contrary. I think a good story should be complex with many moving parts. But this is where I disagree with some of these fans. People are not stupid. The average player can easily understand the lore and the background info the story is trying to tell. The issue is that it's not done in an engaging manner. Humans are innately curious. If you present a scenario that's intriguing to follow but leave behind some subtle unexplained lore crumbs,
What does this have to do with Genshin have better storytelling? Like, and this is the glue? Is this the reason? Because I don't get it. I don't, because he thinks the world building is better. I'm confused. My favorite part of Natlan was Yansan. They fucked that up absolutely.
people will naturally want to learn more and seek out additional knowledge that could help them understand the story.
That's not true. That's an overgeneralized statement. I've played Genshin Impact for 1,200 hours. Never once did I watch a lore video. I watched one lore video one time to appease my chat, and it was the most fucking boring thing in the world. That's cap. There's tons of people who just play the game because they like the game. It's fucking nobody. A lot of people don't fucking care. Like a lot of people don't. If they did care, lore videos would get way more views. You know, and that's not to downgrade it because I think you should do it if you like it. But that's fucking just not true.
Both Genshin and Wuthering Waves have this weird fixation that somehow throwing many specific and complicated jargons and info dumps on the history and changes of the local regions makes the player more engaged. It doesn't, and it only serves as fluff to make the story more bloated than it needs to be. One of the biggest offenders is exaggerated by Paimon. She often just recaps what was implied by the dialogue and tells you exactly how you should be thinking.
So if you know Paimon's trash, how is the storytelling better? I don't understand. And WuWa's story is not bloated. The only time WuWa's story might be a little bit bloated was they do a little bit of the background and like they give you a little bit of the context, but even then it's not really that bloated. They try to say Genshin leaves more to the imagination, but the problem is that if you leave too much to the imagination, it's no different from just an undercooked, lazy story. I completely disagree with them. I don't know what's left to the imagination. I mean, I guess technically what's left to the imagination is you don't know anything about the game because they never resolve anything. So I guess you're technically right. Nothing's been resolved. And the first cutscene since the beginning of the game has been the most irrelevant thing when that was the main plot for the first 5 hours. So technically he is right. But I mean, I don't want to have that in WuWa. I don't want to have a storyline that drags on for 5 years and there's no fucking end in sight. There's no type of meaningful progress. There's nothing occurring. I'm very much okay with mini little stories per region basis and tying a bow on it. And then it kind of it arches into the next region. And it's not this one grand story, which, by the way, I mean, I feel like it's fair to say WuWa does have a one grand story, but they're kind of doing it in a more tasteful way. So I don't know what bro is yapping about. Kovic gives me the vibe that he was scared of being labeled a Crowbot for making a critique on Genshin. So he shoved WuWa in the vid with the points that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I feel like he could have just stopped here. Also, what's up, Bythoma? What's going on, man? I think he could have just stopped right fucking here. But he seems to have spent more time on WuWa. And yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. I've just loved being stunlocked in a story that doesn't anywhere. Yeah, it's like, I don't get it.
Here's a brief snippet of when Mulaney and the gang followed the Archon to express their concern for the deceased Kachina. As the scene plays out, Malvika was able
I think that's a really fair statement, Saint.
to calm them and guide them towards the next goal.
I think it's a
As
very
a
fair
viewer,
statement.
you can easily read between the lines and infer that she is a capable leader, able to quell the concerns of Natlan's people. So, what does Paimon interject with?
Wow. Paimon thought things were gonna get heated for a second, but the Pyro Archon took the time to explain everything so patiently.
I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Did that help you? YouTubers don't know anything.
They don't. That's the thing. YouTubers don't know shit. They don't know shit.
This kind of interjection
That's
by
the problem.
Paimon hurts the dialogue.
Someone sent him the clip of Paimon's V8 crashing out. YouTubers don't know shit, dog. He's lying to you. He's lying. War.
In two ways.
Fuck
Not only
me.
does she take away any possible nuance that the player can interpret from the dialogue by explicitly telling it
For
to you,
sure.
she ends up bloating it with useless
I got you in a second,
information
murder.
further. Putting the bloated dialogue aside, the moment-to-moment story must be good in order for the player to care about the lore.
Hell, but that's not true though. Like Shorekeeper's fucking like low key dead. She's low key dead, right? Like death doesn't, like I say this multiple times, death doesn't mean a good story. Death doesn't mean any type of how do I put this? Oh my god, consequences, right? That's just the easiest way to have consequences, but there could be consequences without death. So I think bro's bugging.
Not the other way around. I can even demonstrate that with the same game. I'm sure a lot of people
It
clicked
would be
on this
big
video and are
finally.
almost shouting at
Sure.
me. Genshin does have good story writing. Just look at Sumeru and Fontaine. I say,
Cap.
you are correct.
Cap.
Ask anyone in the community. Most
No.
would agree that the storyline for these regions
No.
were major step-ups for Genshin. But why?
No, bro. Fucking watching Dunazar die 15 times in a row for 4 fucking hours for that bitch to still live was fucking trash. I'm sorry. That shit was fucking god awful. That bitch should have fucking died. Watching Nilu? Oh my. I don't want to fucking watch Nilu dance, bro. Fucking Sumeru, other than the last act, which was fucking lit as hell with that plan, other than that, the first 3 hours, yeah, that shit was fire. Then it falls off a cliff. Fontaine was goated. But let's not, like, this Sumeru glaze is so fucking annoying, bro. It's so fucking annoying. I don't care. That shit was fucking ass. Other than the last act, I will stand by that opinion forever. Mr. Pokey cried there. Hey, man, he's allowed to have an opinion, but that shit's just ass, bro. He probably cried when Cassius' passive wasn't... That's why Dunazar lived. Cassius' global passive wasn't activated. Easy. It's long-term storytelling. That's why Hoyo's on top, bro. Because Dunazar knew Cassius was coming, so that bitch lived. Hoyo outdid themselves once again. They cooked. Yep.
Why are they generally considered so by the community? Let's look into this.
Fuck.
I want to pinpoint a certain quest in the Sumeru storyline that stuck out to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other players as well. The exact moment that made players realize that Genshin can tell a good story if it wanted to.
No way.
Act 2. The Morn a
No
Thousand
way.
Roses brings. The
No, you're
Subsurus
not.
Festival.
No, you're
a
not.
devoted follower of the Dendro Archon, arrives at
fuck
Sumeru City
me.
in hopes of reviving the Subsurus Festival, a day that celebrates the birth of the newly appointed Archon. Since she was struck by a terminal illness, she wishes to see the celebrations one last time.
Yo, Mav, I appreciate you, brother.
After a day of seemingly ordinary festivities, you find that the Grand Six...
Not me fucking sitting here shitting on it. He's like, let me tell you why this was amazing. Fuck me, bro. Fuck me, son. Bro, I appreciate you. Thank you.
of the academia disapproves of the festival. and has cancelled the Dance of Sub-Zeros in which the dancer
my
Nilo was supposed to perform. Saddened by the news, Dunyarzad bids the traveler farewell. Reluctantly, you head to bed after a long day. But upon waking up, the traveler finds that the day has been seemingly reset, and every time that they sleep, they get stuck in an endless loop repeating the same day's events. And with each passing loop, Dunyarzad's body grows weaker. Following the traveler and Paimon's discovery of this after many loops, you can feel the frustration start venting up as the traveler already knows which cup at the guessing game contains the best candy through the dialogue choices all containing the same options. That's a real
counter argument. People felt like it wasted their time because nothing happened. See, a really good example of the great storytelling was just Farina's arc. You could reference chapter 1 when she turned into a bitch. Then you see her subtly changing through Act 4. You go into Act 5 where you trap her and you like see the fact that she's kind of depressed about the fact that you kind of turned heel on her, but in reality you did it for her. Like there's Fontaine is right there. It's right there. And he decides to pick the quest that absolutely wastes the user's time and spits in your face. A revolving dream of nothing happening over and over and over again for this dumb bitch to live was a waste of time. There was no consequences. There was no consequences. Like, what the fuck? I was so happy playing through this day a million times. Yeah, it's like I don't get it. Like, you picked the worst fucking example.
Really clever way to express the silent protagonist's thoughts without any spoken lines. It's then that the duo notices a childlike figure that sticks out from the crowd. The child introduces herself as
pick the worst
Nakira,
example.
but doesn't reveal her identity yet. However, she seems very knowledgeable with Sumeru's Akasha terminals, and looks to be the key to unraveling this mystery. Following a deduction minigame, you now have to gather what you know of the time loop phenomenon
sucked.
and how to break out of it.
I just
What happens
picked
if I try to
anything.
eat something I've never eaten before? What happens if I try to leave the premises of Sumeru City? What happens if I take off the Akasha terminal? In order to solve this conundrum, I have to understand how Sumeru's Akasha system functions. You now have a sense of intrigue and urgency in order to break out of this unknown force keeping everyone in the loop.
I have an intrigue to get this fucking quest over because I'm in this fucking loop for 4 hours. I have an intrigue to get this shit the fuck off my airways, bro. Get that shit off the airways. What's that fucking Sway meme when Izzy Agalia's rapping? Like, get the fuck out of here, dog. Holy shit. It's so it's like the duality of man, right? It's the duality of man. One dude says he fucking loves it, and then there's me. I think it's fucking trash. Hello, Luli. Did I like the Inazuma story? It was aight. It was aight. It was cool. Fontaine's Peak. Strawberry FK. No worries. Yeah, I thought Inazuma was alright. I thought it was cool. For what it was. It wasn't extremely long. It was kind of surface level, but it had some pretty cool fucking moments. I thought it was better than this dog shit, other than Act 5. Act 5 of this was peak, but yeah.
Recover. But this also introduces the lore in an engaging manner.
For sure.
The audience now has a reason to care. Going through this story quest, I'm reminded of an alternate ending in the 2010 visual novel Steins Gate. Branching off from the main plot, the protagonist Okabe can choose to use the time leap machine to transfer his consciousness back by 48 hours, in order to prevent one of his friends from a tragic death. In this route, Okabe will have to experience the exact same 2 days over and over, while his friends and the rest of the world all live in ignorant bliss every time the timeline resets. Eventually, his senses are dulled by the same events repeating indefinitely, to the point of losing his sanity. What started out as a noble goal of preventing his friends from dying has turned into a nightmare. Each loop is a fresh new adventure for everyone else, but for Okabe, another needle jabbed into his mind as it deteriorates further. Some of my friends think my actions are questionable, but who cares what they think?
My assumption is this game that originally did this probably did it in a more tasteful way than Genshin Impact did it. Therefore, I feel like we're just kind of sitting here drawing parallels where the delivery is like not even close to being the same.
Who cares if I intentionally try to put one of my friends in danger? Who cares if I say things that are out of character? Everything will just reset itself anyways. In these 2 days, I am the god of this world. Eventually, Okabe is driven mad by the same monotonous cycle over and over. He begins to form some very dark and intrusive thoughts. After all, no matter what crime or heinous acts he commits, everyone will be none the wiser once the clock rewinds again. If I'm stuck in this perpetual loop of immortality, I might as well enjoy it. No one can tell me what I can or can't do within the law. Theft, assault, murder.
This storyline already is abundantly more interesting than Genshin Impact's no consequences bullshit. So I don't know what bro's yapping about. They're not even on the same playing field. Steins Gate, the goat, hail Stein. Like, I don't know what he's yapping about.
Barely able to suppress the urges, he wonders how long he can hang on for. That is, until one loop, the self-proclaimed time traveler Suzuha notices the strangeness of Okabe, being cold towards his friends, and seems like none of the nerdy scientists everyone knew, pulls him aside and alludes to the unsatisfying conclusion to the movie Groundhog Day, and drops the following. You've been here before, haven't you? Now, I won't spoil the ending of this route in the visual novel, but this is my benchmark for quality when a story is doing a whole bit on time loops. To see Genshin of all games trying to pull this off is pretty remarkable. Fontaine was also a surprise hit in terms of writing quality. The storyline opens with a trial to prove the innocence of Linny, the traveler's newfound friend,
very good
against the Hydro Archon, Farina. This first act knocks out two birds with one stone. Not only is it a fun little deduction minigame Ace Attorney style, it also introduces how the Nation of Justice operates and what its leader is like. This bratty pipsqueak is the one governing over the nation? While I thought the overall Fontaine's Archon quest had hits and misses, like how some characters clearly matter more than others, or how the whole Meropede section was dragged out and uneventful,
was horrible.
something where the story really treads new grounds is how much they can make you root and care for a character. I think Farina by far is the best written character in Genshin. She acts childishly innocent around small pets, pleads for her life when threatened, and silently cries in her room afterwards. There's something very human about that. Showing a vulnerable side like this just isn't something you see Genshin writing do. Everything looks cheerful when Farina parades around the city, but as time goes on...
Okay, but he hasn't mentioned the storytelling aspect. Like, what does he clarify as storytelling? Because writing is not storytelling. Storytelling is the physical action. I mean, she is human, right? Well, that's the thing. You didn't know that at first. You don't know that until afterwards. But like, nothing here has told me that Genshin has a better storytelling aspect to it. The cutscenes are repetitive. There's really no good camera angles. There's nothing there other than him saying he liked the narrative more. So we've been in this section for roughly about 10 minutes, and I don't know what he's trying to convey. Genuinely, I don't know. I'm a little schmizzed, but I feel like I'm following, right? You know?
You can tell that behind the facade,
how you feel,
something
brother?
Isn't quite right. She's putting up a front amidst having a tragic backstory.
Good morning,
and it's
man.
your job to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
In order to save Farina from a cruel fate, you have to understand what Fontaine's prophecy is regarding the Hydro Archon.
It's not storytelling.
Again, just like the Sub-Zero's festival, the player now has some emotional attachment to a character to cling to. Not only is Farina given time to grow within the story, it has also organically incorporated complex lore so that the player now has a reason to learn more about it.
Yeah,
everything ties back to that original question. Why should I care?
This was amazing,
Scenario
yeah,
and
sure.
Fontaine clearly had a competent writing team behind it, so it was kind of weird to see Hoyoverse relapse with Natlan. Better luck next time in Snezhnaya. Now, story is obviously not the only aspect that any game has, but I think it's extremely beneficial for gacha games to invest in good writing. This genre has a lot of potential in building emotional attachment to its characters, and some quality writing can significantly drive up the interest in which players are more willing to...
Dude, what about this was better than WuWa? Like... What about this direct comparison of saying that the narrative of Sumeru, where was the point? I don't know. Am I fucking dumb? Am I being dumb? Am I being stupid and greedy? Did I miss it? I feel like I'm following along perfectly fine. I don't know, like...
to spend money to pull on them. So why is this happening? Why have the two biggest open-world gacha games gone down this path? Well, I actually have a pretty good theory.
This is some HC casual shit right now, bro.
...for it. This is something I like to call the gacha motive of storytelling. I'll start by asking a simple question. How do gacha games make money? Well, through the act of players pulling on the gacha.
You just farming your
These
watch
games make
time?
the
No,
majority
he
of their
really
revenue
did.
on characters,
He really
not the
did,
music,
bro. He
not the
really
events,
did.
And not the open world. You can do all that for free. In other words, it's their job to sell these characters to you. A simple fact about gacha games is that it must release new gacha targets over time to retain existing players. This can inevitably lead to character bloat, where either only some of the cast is actually relevant, or everyone just has surface level development. Because of the way these games are monetized, this motive can influence how the story is written. There can't be any nuance in designing playable characters' morals because they must be marketable. They must be shown in the most virtuous and positive.
Well, there was nuance to Farina, though, and Farina did amazing. Right? I don't agree with that take. I think it's more risky to include nuance in these characters. Absolutely, way more risky. But you look at the Knave in Farina, especially Farina, and there was definitely a lot of nuance to her. And Knave was positioned as a bad guy, and you find out she's not, right? But I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to. I mean, I guess I understand what he's trying to say. I just don't agree with it. Well, no. I agree that they don't take risk most of the time, but there is exceptions. The exception doesn't define the rule, obviously, but I mean, those characters with nuance are great. I think games should do more of that. Absolutely. I don't know. Genshin's worse with the force characters of the story to sell the character. Absolutely, for sure. This is at 3K likes. Yeah, it's 3.4K likes.
Of light to incentivize as many people to pull for them. Any trait or personality that could enter them into a morally gray area might discourage a player from thinking they're the most ideal pull target and potentially spend money on. We see this approach in both Genshin and Wuthering Waves. These stories tend to cast a wide net, introducing many characters into the gacha roster instead of honing down on a small, focused cast. This approach is also the reason why characters don't seem to develop or change, at least in a drastic way. Wouldn't it have been so cool if Lisa accompanied the Traveler to Sumeru, given that she's literally a former academia scholar? Or if Yang Yang went with the rover to Renacida to see the sun?
If this was true, then why is there so much for Lova and Scar? I mean, yeah. No, I will give credit. I understand the point. The point is that most gacha companies will not take that risk because the safest way to sell a character is just to make them a good guy or bad guy. Excuse me, good guy, good girl, and surface level morals, right? And then obviously the character itself develops over time. That is how most gacha games have been historically for a very long period of time. But I'm even again a character like Sunday in HSR, right? Sunday I think sold probably pretty fucking well. So it's very interesting because, again, the exception does not define the rule, but I get his point. He is saying that this is the route they normally go, but I don't think they should. But Frolov is going to probably be playable, right? Scar will probably be playable, like you said. So just like a PGR,
yeah. Interesting to see the relationship with the protagonists change and how their perspective affects the story. One problem. Building up existing characters with more means taking away screen time from a potentially new character that could be marketable for players to pull on. The thing about having morally gray zones is that while a player might find one faction more relatable, picking one side means becoming enemies with the other. This cannot happen between two playable factions.
Villains are harder, true.
It's never to a developer's advantage to design a character that people are actively rooting against. This means that while they might be inclined to pull a character from their liked faction from the gacha, there will be less reason to pull a character from the other. This is not ideal for the monetization model these games have. They want to give reason to pull all of the characters. Limiting that potential is just hurting the revenue numbers. The easiest way to do this is simply by having the surface level development so that no one feels too alienated from one faction over another. So how can one solve these issues in order to have a well-developed and dynamic cast?
I mean, this part I think is fine.
One method is to simply re-release a new version of a character once they have gone through enough change.
Yeah.
Their voice lines and personality reflects their changed self.
This guy likes PGR a lot,
if you will. Both PGR and Honkai 3 does this a lot, actually. It's an indescribable feeling, because both MiHoYo and Kuro games are known to have written some very good stories in their previous games. And advancing to the top of the gacha industry has somehow caused them to neglect one aspect that a lot of players look forward to. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Story and world building tend to be my personal gauge whether I want to stick playing a game continuously. I know myself and a lot of people want the storytelling to be good to feel immersed in an ever-changing world. So I strongly encourage the new open world releases like Arknight's Enfield, Azure Parmelia, Ananta, and TE, Dual Knight Abyss to invest in some good writers. Make me care about the world and its people. Don't shoehorn a bunch of one-dimensional characters in the attempt to make...
I think WuWa's done a great job, boys. I don't know, man. Call me a Korobot. I've been, I think, one of the more critical players of the game, who especially has been a content creator. And whenever there's a moment to shit on the game, that I genuinely do believe there's a moment to shit on the game, I think this video was really good towards the Genshin portion. Towards this last portion over here, it kind of makes a bit more sense. I understand his perspective, but I don't know what the fuck happened with this WuWa side. Korobot, sheesh, Richie, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
marketable. Anyways, you heard me overanalyze free mobile games for the past 40 minutes, so let me know what you think. Did you agree or disagree with any of the points made in the video? I'll continue to enjoy both Genshin and Wuthering Waves, but this was a topic that was on the back of my mind for a while. If you want to catch more highly specific analysis on gacha games, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, and as always, have fun out there.
Again, I fucks with this dude, so like it is what it is. Comments did grill him. Surely he won't turn into a fan war comment section. One thing I absolutely despise is for some reason the writers seem to believe that narrative philosophical. Maybe another aspect of this is too many playable characters. I thought Rover Main's goal was already mentioned of the Shorekeeper story when he wants to stop the lament. Lament! I like men! It's mentioned that he created the test system, Black Shorts, to stimulate infinite universe where the jumps from one world to another, but despite this, the Rover never really found a way to present it. Yeah, I mean, pretty sure. Where how he missed this. This changes a lot. Yeah, but I think the points following it stand because Renacida visit has nothing to do with this. Well, Renacita's visit outright told you there was nothing to do with this, so I don't know what bro's yapping about. Genshin world lore from artifacts and books are better than the main story. That's somewhat funny, true. While I overall like this critique, I'm disappointed with the WuWa critique. You did well in pointing out that the story flaws, but some of the addressed critiques were just comparing it to other game story, which has resulted to this did not work. They should have followed this game's narrative. Which some to degree will work, but other games to the point will which copy that game. For example, Aether and Lumine's story is very different compared to Rover and Shorekeeper. Forms of story, absolutely, we discussed that. Something wants to reunite, which effectively establishes their relationship, thereby sympathizing with siblings during the specific quest. While his latter is Rover, who lost his memories, gradually reintroduced as Shorekeeper as we progress through the story, reveals their actual relation.
Thanks for the 5 gifted subs, 5 big goons.
5 big goons. Giving us some W's in the shaft for 6. Brother, I love you. What a great way to top off the YouTube video. YouTube, I'll see you in the other one. And have your moms come top me off, though. You know what I'm saying?